Hi, everybody. Welcome to joining my session from Zero to Hero in Kubernetes and Native Java. And welcome again, DevDays Europe 2023. So who am I? My name is Daniel O. I'm working for Red Hat as a developer advocate, which specializes in cloud-native runtime such as Spring Boot and Quarkus, and then a bunch of the related to Java technology. I'm also Java champion and a CNCF ambassador, which allows me to spend a lot of time to evangelize Java developers, but also platform engineers in terms of how to build their cloud-native application on top of the Kubernetes with the ecosystems. Because that is, I spend a lot of time bringing more Java application into Kubernetes with the serverless, service mesh, and the GitOps practice as well. Here's my contact information, like Daniel030 for Twitter. Just follow me on Twitter. You can subscribe my YouTube channel, and then you can poke and then start my GitHub repository as well. All right, let's get started. So everybody, and a lot of people actually use the two different terms interchangeably. One is cloud native, the other is Kubernetes native. Sometimes that is true, that is identical, but sometimes not. So let me try to define what is the difference between cloud native and Kubernetes native here. So cloud native is literally cloud, like a public cloud, for example, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and IBM Cloud, and Alibaba Cloud. It's all like a public cloud. And then whenever you invented a new technology, not only application, but also infrastructure based in cloud, you could say cloud native. What about the Kubernetes native? So Kubernetes native is actually came from Kubernetes technology with the Linux containers. So it was invented back in 2014. So some of the public cloud actually adopt Kubernetes technology as a part of their public services. For example, AWS Kubernetes Services, aka EKS, or Azure Kubernetes Services, or the AKS, or Google Kubernetes Platform, things like that. So cloud is the allows you to choose Kubernetes as a part of the option technology. So even if you could make your application cloud native, you cannot say my application Kubernetes native because cloud not include all the time Kubernetes. So here's two different things once again. So as long as you're gonna make a application optimization and then a more native way in the Kubernetes, you could say your application Kubernetes native. So today we're gonna take you through how do you make your existing Microsoft application, specifically Java application, to Kubernetes native Java application. So as you're an ordinary developer, you got a bunch of the choices to develop your Microsoft application from scratch. And today we're going to do Quarkus, which is a new Java framework for Kubernetes native Java application development. So there are many practices how to make your application more Kubernetes native way. So for example, so previously and traditionally your application, Microsoft's application should be take care of some of the 12 factors. For example, externalize your application configuration as well as store security information rather than application side, but also infrastructure layer. So the Kubernetes actually provide a bunch of the 12-factor capability. For example, service discovery, service resiliency, and then configuration for externalized configuration and the security information storing on the Kubernetes side. As long as you're going to adopt that technology and then use and maximize the Kubernetes capability from your Java application, now you can say your application is Kubernetes native Java application. Let me try to get into the right demo and how it works, what that looks like, rather than like a boring slide next day. Okay, I'm going to stop my presentation. And here's my local environment. And then let me try to create a new Quarkus project. You can actually go to code.quarkus.io. And then you can find, you could specify group name and artifact name. You can select whatever you need, the preferred tool, like a Maven Grado or even Kotlin or Java version 11.17. And you can generate automatically simple code as well. And then once you select all like a dependency or a capability for like a web application and a data transaction and then or the messaging, or there are a bunch of the more than 600 dependency, or we can say in Quarkus side in the extensions, you can actually use that. And then when you select on generate your application, automatically download zip file, and then you can unzip file and then running on your IDE tool and then get started your application development. But today, I'm going to try to use the Quarkus CLI, which allows me to pretty much easier remember all parameter argument rather than using Gradle and Maven. So I just create a new Quarkus project, the project name is Kubernetes Java, and then it automatically generated a bunch of the files like a configuration property and the Docker file in case you're going to packaging application deploy to Kubernetes cluster, and the Maven wrapper because sometimes you got a multiple version of a Maven and the JDK as well. So you need to change the Maven version for the specific project because Quarkus automatically generate Maven wrapper for this project. And here's a sample application as well. So let me change the directory, and then I'm going to open my application using my VS Code here. And then when you try to go to POM XML, this is a raised Quarkus version 3.303. And then, as you can see, a bunch of the application dependency automatically generating, downloading the dependency on my local file system. So Quarkus was born reactive programming based on Netty and Vertex. So that's why by default, your REST-EG, which is a RESTful API, built on reactive application. However, you can still develop non-reactive application. That is the beauty of the Quarkus for Java developer. You don't need to run like a steep learning curve for reactive programming and migration. Just like you went through with the Spring Reactive and Spring application. The sample application here, go to under the Java directory, and then here's just a simple hello endpoint, RESTful API, and return hello from message reactive. The first thing first, you're going to start Quarkus dev mode, and then as you can see, Quarkus dev coding on the starting on the live coding, and then the developer activated. So this is another beauty of the Quarkus, and the reason why I actually use the Quarkus because in the case, and then you always need to do something in order to process for application development with the Java technology, which is writing code, building code, restarting, recompile, and then things like that. However, the Quarkus actually automatically detected, change the code, and recompile, restart automatically without intervention by human being, which is awesome. This is like a JavaScript. I'm going to open the new terminal window and try to access the endpoint 8080 and hello. Now you can see hello from message reactive, which is exactly my application. And then when you press W, it brings me to directly goes into the Quarkus landing page, and you can actually go to hello UI here, the hello from message reactive. If you prefer GUI, you can go to here. And then here's the dev UI, which is really awesome. So what's interesting here, the continuous testing is not part of the Kubernetes Java stuff. However, so whenever you verify your application on top of the Kubernetes with the container technology, which means that you spend more time for your daily job. But how to make the time to take care of that outer loop processor as a part of the verifying your application onto Kubernetes? So Quarkus actually solved that problem to reduce your inner loop process development. For example, how to test your application. You need to put in some test capability like a third-party dependency, such as a check style or other stuff. But the Quarkus actually provides out-of-box feature, continuous testing. When you start the continuous testing, it automatically verifies your application, your test code. The green means it's a success. When you go back to my application and under the test directory, I have one test case is automatically generated when you created this project from scratch. And then you can also go to here, the terminal window, you can also find the green color. So when I go back to application, and then let me try to go to file and a little bit change it. Okay, and then let's try to hello DevDays and EU and 22.3. Bang, and save a file, and I'm gonna just call endpoint. Now the new return code. It's literally just like a JavaScript. That's the real meaning of live coding. which is pretty awesome. And then you could save your time for the inner loop process, make the time and spend this time to your outer loop process to make your better Kubernetes native Java application. And then when I go back to terminal, I got some error because my test case is actually looking for the two hello from REST is reactive, but you actually change the code in the DevDays EU 2023. If you prefer the web UI, you can actually find this web UI as well, and then you can actually use the same result. So this is I said earlier, this is the literally out of box feature to save your time, and you could spend that time into the make your Kubernetes native Java application. So let me try to fix that problem. Try to just copy the code to avoid typo, and then paste here. Back to here. Now my test case all succeeded, and then back to the terminal, and then you can do the same thing, and then the endpoint is still the same. But sometimes people ask me, is it the same thing? Even if you could add some new method or a class, sure, it's still working. So let me try to add a few more test cases here. For example, let me try to make it really fast here. I'm going to test 80, and then here is a greeting, and the new endpoint such as greeting, and then okay. Welcome to native Java with Quarkus. Okay, which good. Then back to the here, and then I got a new error because of 404 error because I just create test case. However, I don't have any map to resources that go literally the actual RESTful API. So Quarkus is still smart. They actually recognize the error code right now, and then I'm gonna try to create a new one. Pass, which is greeting, and then new method here. Welcome to native Java with the, and then I'm going to try to add one parameter like a name, and then I'm going to refer that property from my local file system, which is a key is a name. Alrighty, and back to the UI, and then I got a new error here. I got some star Quarkus stuff because the failed the star Quarkus, which means here is the error. I cannot find that value from the key name, so that's why I gotta go to application property and then change that like a Quarkus and save a file, and then back to here all green, and also when I go back to terminal. And then let's try to endpoint again, and then welcome to Kubernetes Java with the Quarkus, which is cool. So in the meantime, I pretty much save time because I only focus on my application development with the test code. It's automatically continue testing whenever I save the file, and also recompile, rebuild, restart my Quarkus application automatically and magically. So now I'm pretty much ready to deploy my application. I'm going to try to add a few more capability, like a CRUD capability. Let me try to go back to here, and then for that I'm going to try to run my container environment, which is I'm going to using Docker, because one of the good thing of the Quarkus it actually provides the test container environment as the out-of-box feature again. You don't need to add any test container configuration and the container image manually on your Java project. The Quarkus automatically detect to some dependency. For example, I'm going to try to add for example, okay, here's my Docker, so I don't have any running process, and I'm going to try to add the JDBC PostSQL ORM Panache step, so which allows me to add a new database connection capability. And then I got some error because by default, as I mentioned earlier, Quarkus actually looking forward to developing reactive programming, but I don't need to reactive programming for my database transaction. That's why I try to add non-reactive programming. So let me try to fix that problem back to the my project, and then go to POM.xml, and then I'm going to try to change my dependency to REST easy, and then back to the terminal, and then as you can see, it's automatically restart, and then you could download it automatically container image, and then I'm going to try to run Docker process, and now I have the PostSQL automatically standard. You can actually override the PostSQL version, and then you can actually go to and press the C, and then you can find the test container configuration, like a JDBC URL and the DB client and the username and password. You can also go to Web UI, Quarkus Dev UI, and Dev Services, and I'm going to reload that, and then you can actually find out this kind of stuff. So it's automatically set up for developer. You don't need to set up, you don't need to even remember what kind of keys and value you need to set up for connect to your database running on container. You can actually copy like this password and then put in your application property and then put in the new password or something like that. But I'm going to try to leave the by default, is to make it simple. And then I'm going to try to add like a data transaction logic here. For example, here's my entity, and then I'm going to try to make some this entity, and then I'm going to make sure make a better cacheable, more high performance. I'm going to extend like a Panache entity, which is allowing me to just avoid implement some kind of the default operation like create, delete, and retrieve some data and get a setter as well. So I'm going to try to new attribute string name and address. Save a file, and then go to Panache, and I extend the Panache entity. You can find all like a CRUD operational functions like a persistent and a delete, and then retrieve all query, etc. Okay, looks good. That's why entity pretty much is simpler than Spring JPA. And back to the application, let me try to add a new RESTful API. Like let's try to like a new endpoint person. I'm going to return like a JSON rather than text here. And then list, which is the Java util, and the person. Let's say the method name list to all. I'm going to try to return all data, and then person list all. So this automatically already implemented Panache, so which is really cool. Let me try to add one more thing. I'm gonna search a specific ID, and then which only return one person. I can find by ID, and I need to pass parameter ID, and which is a wrong type, and ID, and then I'm gonna use automatically define the ID in the Panache entity, which is cool. Okay, I just call, and then one thing I'm just need to add the SQL file here. I don't need to even create the data like a DDL stuff. You typically create a SQL file for create a schema on the Spring JPA, because Quarkus Hibernate ORM Panache automatically create a schema based on your Java beans like a person. I just need to insert data into person data and values, and then ID, and my name Dan, and I based on actually Boston. I'm local here, and then I just copy and then change the ID, and then name is Jen from the Orlando, and then another either name is 3 ID. It's like a let's say Jenny from New York City. Okay, pretty cool. Let me try to go back to terminal window, and then let me try to 8080 low and person. Okay, now it's 3 data, which is cool. If I try to figure out 1 is Daniel, and 3, which is Jenny, pretty much good. Okay, I just stop my application, and now I'm going to try to deploy this application to Kubernetes. In order to that, I'm going to try to add the 2 configuration, and actually 1 extension on OpenShift. And then the reason why I'm going to add the Kubernetes configure, which allows my application to access the Kubernetes manifesto directly, which is the config map and the secret, because that makes my application more Kubernetes native Java application in the end. Okay, and then back to the project, and then go to application property. Let me try to the real database configuration like a PostSQL. And then let me try to update the schema and then database name person. I'm going to create a new table, drop and create rather than update. And then Quarkus actually provide unified configuration. So as a developer, you might have a multiple target environment to deploy your application, like a test environment, staging, production, and so on. How to manage that kind of multiple environment? You might have a multiple configuration file or YAML file, property file, or you have a multiple metadata base or things like that. In the configuration software as well. However, Quarkus actually provide the prefix feature in the one configuration file. And then you could set a dev just like this. It's only picked them up from like a Quarkus demo. When you're packaging application, so Quarkus only picked it up just without any prefix or starting like a prod, things like that. So like let me say try to like a prod. So this is only prod configuration. So I'm going to try the prod. And let me try to this kind of all-star prod. Okay, which is cool. And then, so this is all about the my PostSQL. And then I'm going to try to Kubernetes configuration. Kubernetes deploy, which is true. And also Kubernetes deployment target, which is Kubernetes or OpenShift. Today I'm going to using OpenShift. And then expose URL automatically with the fully qualified domain name. And then I'm going to also using TLS termination here. Okay, that's it. Pretty much is cool. And then I'm going to deploy back my application, and then I'm going to try. Let me try to make sure I'm going to save the project, OC project, DOH dev. And here's my OpenShift project and the DOH dev. And there's OpenShift topology view, and it's a 4.12 version. And then there's a no resource, which means it's the empty project. Okay, so now I'm going to try to use the Quarkus view again. I'm going to skip unit test because I already verified that. It saved my demo time as well. So first thing, so we're going to packaging application like a job file, which is we call fast jar, because the Quarkus override class loader, which makes the application pretty much a little bit faster than like a legacy jar, such as aka Uber and ThinJar. And then I'm using OpenJDK 17, by the way, in the packaging application, like a job file here. And then we're gonna to containerize the application. You can also use the Docker file or S2I process. So in case you're gonna use Docker file, the developer normally create a Docker file for JVM or native, because Quarkus allows developer to compile native executable file, which is really super fast and then small memory footprint for developers. So we already generate this Java file for JVM, native, and then legacy jar, and the native micro images, things like that. So once we're gonna package this application, like a containerized application, and then we're gonna push this container image into OpenShift container registry, which is already existing inside OpenShift cluster. You can actually specify specific container registry, for example, Quay.io, Docker Hub, or Google Container Registry, etc. And once you finish push the container image, and then Kubernetes automatically pull that container image into available workers. And now you can see the Quarkus logo in this one pod. There is one pod right now. And then when you go to view logs, and then you can exactly, oh yeah, we got some error because we don't, I just forgot create to database. Okay, let me try to create database here. PostSQL, and then create a new database, which is like a person, and then username user, and then password secret, and the person. It's a literally same thing, and then go to the application property here, user super secret. Okay, I just create that. And here's my new database. And then I'm going to try to add one label, which make it fancier. Okay, let me try to, maybe I didn't open, open, runtime equal post SQL. Righty, so we have a new Quarkus application here. So let me try to go back to Quarkus Low, and then it's running really good. And then, oh, so there's no, let me try to actually restart the container to set up the database properly. And then go to here and the view logs. Oh, so I actually forgot one thing here, and the configuration here actually, I needed to create the load, yes, load script. And then I also needed to set the product because we actually specify SQL file. That's why when I go to, there's no data here. Okay, so for that, okay, let me try to redeploy it once again. There we go, and then try to deploy it once again. And then what is going to do next thing is, as you can see, we have some compilation report to my local file system, which is some kind of compilation from my application property file, as well as I actually store the sensitive information, like a data password here. So how to make it better in a Kubernetes application, because Kubernetes already provide Kubernetes config map and the secret, which allows me externalize configuration from application to Kubernetes. And then whenever you scale up and down or delete the pod, Kubernetes automatically attach that secret and config map automatically, which is really cool. You don't need to take care of that. So I'm going to try to add, for example, like a Kubernetes config map. So I already, when I go back to application, and I already create the config map here, my config, and then which is the key, my config name, and the value Quarkus 3. And I already create the secret, DB credential. And it literally same key and key username and the value user, and password key value is superscript, which is exactly same thing I store my application property. So I'm going to try to create the config map. It's my config. And then here is enable true. And then secret DB credential. And the secret enable true, which is cool. And then let me try to go back to my application and the view logs. Now the application is there, which is cool. And then let me try to copy the route URL and then back to the terminal. And the one let's put API, it's a hello DevDays EU 2023 Vang. And then what about the grid, which is show up, welcome to Kubernetes native Java with the Quarkus. Now what about the database stuff? So I have three data, exactly same thing, just like my local. So now I can say it's a cloud native application, but not 100% Kubernetes native app. So let me try to make this application optimize Kubernetes app. So that's why I put it here, and I'm going to change it to access to the secret, just like a key, password, and also the application here. I'm going to try to my config name, which is a return the Quarkus 3, not Quarkus, which is cool. And also, I got one more very interesting stuff today as well. So you have maybe some issue when you troubleshooting the application, because sometimes you're going to deploy your application, just committing your application into Git repository, and then in the middle of the night, your DevOps engineer or platform engineer try to deploy the application with a fantastic CI/CD pipeline. However, sometimes there is some error. In the middle phone call, hey Dan, we got some situation, so your code doesn't work. So you maybe take a look at that right now. But yeah, sure, I can do that. However, it's not easy to access the production environment, even if with Kubernetes. And then sometimes the Kubernetes keep the pod automatically based on health check capability. And then it's not easy to find the deleted pod. The log is inside of the deleted pod. And then sometimes your organization and then they have some centralized the logging infrastructure. And then you made a create a ticket and access that logging infrastructure, and then it takes some maybe a couple of hours or even a couple of days. And then it's really hard to find the relevant logs a couple of days ago and a couple of hours ago. However, if you could replicate that issue just like your live coding capability from your local to remote Kubernetes cluster, which is a fantastic, and it's make you better have experience with the Kubernetes development. In order to that, I'm going to try to add a few more configuration. One of the beauty of the Linux container technology is immutability. So whenever you deploy a container, and then whenever you change inside the container, and then after restart container, it automatically restore, just like immutability. But in order to troubleshooting and the live coding capability into running container, we make that application as a jar is immutable. That's why I just immutable jar in the library load. Like a password is just between me and my remote cluster, and then I will grow the URL, which is a really that URL. And then one last thing, I just omit product, and then you can actually provide that kind of stuff. Workers, full shift, environment, bars, and workers, launch, then mode, and true. Okay, that's cool. And let me try to go back to and then deploy it once again. And then once I deploy this application, I'm gonna verify my application capability once again to access to hello greeting REST endpoint should return Quarkus 3 rather than Quarkus. And also try to access the database. And then it allows me access the database based on Kubernetes secret and Kubernetes secret username and password, which is really cool. And then, so just try to go back to a Docker file in a JVM, and you can see the actually runnable jar, which is under target and under Quarkus-app. We actually override the class loader. However, sometimes your running platform like a Kubernetes or even application server only allows you refer to your jar file right under target directory, not two-level depths. In that case, you can actually packaging legacy jar with like a packaging type legacy jar, not mutable jar, and then it literally point to target directory rather than target / Quarkus-app. And then native executable is under the target directory in the runnable executable file. But you could only more like a more tiny, and then we actually provide a micro image as a base image when you packaging application. But there are some feature, like some monitoring feature, is we eliminated to make it some more tiny base image for that. Okay, and now I just deploy new one, and then when I try to view logs again, and then it takes some time to load the application. And then, okay, it's a little bit more takes time. Oh, we got some error here. Couldn't array ranks. Oh, let me try back to my application and try to figure out some of the typo here. DB credential, and then let me recheck secret. And then here, DB credentials, empty, my config. And then username, password. So username, same thing. Password is same thing. Okay, it's a mutable jar, and I have a code, and then I think pretty much it same thing here. And then okay, let me try to go to application again and bureaus. So let me try to redeploy once again. And sometimes there are some network issue to packaging application, like some crash. inside the job file. So let me try to deploy it once again, and hopefully this time it's gonna be working. Finger crossed. I should play demo god, but I actually have enough time to play the demo god today. Okay. So and then let me try go back to upload view and application property, and then just try to get into any typo is here. Okay, it looks good. And as you can see, the build logs, you can actually trace the build log in the web UI as well, which is cool. Okay, and then back to the application. Workers open shift environment bars. Workers branch demo true. Yeah, I think this is good. Okay, and then packaging and then pushing the new image into that container registry inside of the cluster, and then just finish that thing and then back to the topology view, and then new container is now creating, and then new application is running. So it's a rolling update, so it's not gonna interfere and stop your running application. Okay, so it takes a little bit more time to start up the application. Oh, it's weird. I got some read array because element is error, and it cannot read array ranks because Java array is still showing. That's weird. It's for database stuff. So even if let me try to access to like a hello, oh, it's error. Okay. So let me try to delete this stuff just in case. And password, everything looks good to me. Mutable jar. My config.name. Drop and create. That's odd. Okay, let me try to target directory and try to one more last time. So hopefully this is gonna work. Again, create a new application and then like a job file and then contain an image build based on OpenShift processor. That's so you can actually find out the view logs in the build. And here we go, and it's the new build is running. And then go to logs, and then you can find the same thing. It's really you can see here. So let me go back to like a Quarkus, the code.quarkus.io, and you can actually go to Quarkus.io. You can find that there are many kinds of stuff, and here's the one interesting stuff. So Quarkus 3 actually launched a couple of weeks ago, and then we change a lot. For example, so you can actually go to normal Quarkus 3. We increase the performance and efficiency. We adopt Hibernate ORM 6.2. It's a huge change and a great performance improvement in Hibernate ORM, which is Quarkus provide and support DB transaction, just like a Spring JPA. And developer activity, like a new dev UI, you already saw that. Quarkus CLI, which I use today. The pack for like a more testing, contract-based testing capability. And also today the session like a Kubernetes Java application. Also I showed that they have services running on out-of-the-box feature of a test container, and then we support Java 11.17, and also the Jacquard EE10 core module into Quarkus project, you cannot find the Java X package anymore. However, you can see the Jakarta package, and also we can support microprofile 6. Okay, package application is done. And then go back to MUI. Publish view. Hopefully, this time it's working. Okay, finally, I think there are some dummy cache in the target data. Now you can see that, and one of the interesting stuff, you can see that here. So dev activated, live coding activated. It's really the same thing on your like a local environment. Let me try to access to hello. Same thing. What about the greeting? It should be returned 3. Now we have a Quarkus 3. And then person, which is a typo here. Now we could have 3 data, and also number 2, which is a gen from a random. Okay, so now I'm going to try to very interesting the Quarkus remote dev, which allows developer to troubleshooting in real time from local to your remote Kubernetes with the live coding capability. I'm going to try to use a Maven command line at this moment, and then remote dev. It's really same thing, almost like a Quarkus dev mode. And then at the last one, you actually try to access to remote Kubernetes cluster using URL I specify in application property file. And then let me go back to the application, and let me try to one of the stuff here. Okay, I'm gonna try to this is a Quarkus like a 3 and save a file and back to the application. I'm not gonna deploy to my compute map. It's my local property, back to local property. Then try to access the greeting. Now when you go back to terminal window, Quarkus automatically detected what could change the like application property file and also resources classes. And then back to the terminal, you literally welcome to Quarkus 303. It's now looking back to my local file system. Not only application and property, you can also change any application file, any file into inside your project. Let me try that the new even SQL like a Justin, and then from like a San Francisco. So file, and then I'm gonna try to person before. And then back to the terminal window, now you can see that import SQL, automatic detect and packaging and sending to remote Kubernetes cluster. And now we have a Justin from San Francisco. I'm going to retrieve all. Now you can have this one. So that's it. That's how to make your Kubernetes application with the Java, with the Quarkus, which is really cool. I'm going to back to my presentation, and then just quick summarize. I already created some separate demo with this talk, and push it into my YouTube channel, youtube.com, and then Daniel03 handler or pinning URL Daniel TV. I'm pretty much encourage all of you subscribe my YouTube channel, and then learn more something around the Quarkus and the serverless function and the Kubernetes and every application with the Quarkus and the Java technology. And if you have any question or suggestion, just feel free to reach out to me by Twitter as well as the YouTube channel. And here's more contact information around the Quarkus project. We have an official URL like a quarkus.io, and we have a Julep chat, and the Twitter, and the YouTube, and then our GitHub repository. Feel free to join the community and then share your experience around the Quarkus application development. That's it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.